What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It's time for a recap of what went down on last night's episode of Teen Mom OG. Again, I'm still skipping through Mackenzie's scene. I'm tired of the rinse and repeat situation, and so in the middle of skipping, I heard something about one of her kids pooping in the garage, and I'm kind of wondering how that even happens. Isn't he like 4 or 5 years old or something like that? Meanwhile, in Indiana, Amber calls her mom for a recap of Leah's birthday party that she ghosted, and she says that she was shot down from spending one-on-one time with Leah. But can you really be surprised? She's been ghosting this poor girl like pretty much from birth, and here she is ghosting her birthday as well. Of course, she doesn't want to spend solo time with her. Amber said that she was waiting for a phone call from Leah, but that she wasn't going to wait too long, which had me wondering, does that mean that she's not waiting too long before she calls Leah to break the ice and try to mend their relationship? Or does that mean that she's not going to talk to her? With this being Amber, I'm leaning more towards the latter. She did say, after all, that she wants Leah to feel what it's like to really miss her, which is kind of odd. She's been missing you for 12 years. Another week is not really going to change that much, Amber. Now, guys, Leah watches Amber's bizarre Snapchats. That made me really sad for Leah, like just actually seeing for herself how, off or like, you know what I mean? Like, bizarre her own mom is, because Amber's Snapchats are weird. She's just staring like glazed into the camera, not really doing anything but lip syncing. She's posting really like odd, like juvenile things. She's even talking trash about Leah's mom and dad, Gary and Christina, in her Snapchats as well, especially recently. So, it's strange to me that Amber posts the way that she does, knowing all of that. Next, we are in Los Angeles awaiting the result of Cheyenne and Zach's baby's genetic testing to determine whether or not he may have VLCAD, and then Zach also needs to get tested, and we'll find out his results within the next 2 weeks. And so down south in Tennessee, Bentley wants to go to Larry's birthday, and Maci asks him if Ryan or Mackenzie will be there, and I never really noticed it too much until you guys started pointing it out to me. But yeah, Maci never really refers to Ryan as Bentley's dad. She never goes, is your dad and Mackenzie gonna be there or whatever. Like, yes, we all know that Ryan is a deadbeat, but typically, the mom still do refer to the other parent as the dad. Even Gary is referring to Amber as Leah's mother as well. So I'm kind of curious about how you guys feel about it. Then in Michigan, Dawn, the adoption counselor, comes over and asks Catelynn and Tyler why they haven't reached out for photos and updates on, their birth daughter Carly lately. And they say that they don't really feel as though Brandon and Teresa want too much communication, so they've been giving them their space. Dawn tells them to open that door of communication so that they don't get to the point of no return in regards to a lack of communication. I accidentally caught a little bit of Mackenzie's scene while skipping past her when she tells her boss about how her kid has been biting his teachers and drawing blood and maybe biting other students as well. Is that the same one who was pooping in the garage? Because oof, child. Gannon, I think his name is. Anyway, her boss tells her that, he might have a root issue like autism or something like that, which is what his own child has. And he encourages Mackenzie to seek professional help for him to kind of get to the bottom of what is going on with him, which I thought was quite nice. But it's kind of, starting to feel like her scenes with him are like he is a stand-in friend or family member for her. Like the dynamic is a bit odd to me. Now, in Michigan, again, Gary talks to Leah about Amber ghosting her birthday party, and Leah reveals that Amber reached out to her through Snapchat. Is this what deadbeat parenting has come to? Reaching out to your children exclusively through Snapchat? No more calling them? FaceTime, video call, like nothing, just Snapchat. It was weird to me. I found it like almost shameful, you know what I mean? Like maybe Amber just wants to reach out to her through Snapchat so that she could like see whether or not Leah's reading her messages, because you can't really through text. I don't know. Maybe try WhatsApp instead. I don't know. It was just wow. Okay, y'all. Amber basically just reached out to her 12-year-old daughter Leah to tell her that her birthday was quote unquote fake. And then when Leah asked her what was fake about it, we had a party, with family. Amber told her that she'll understand when she's older. That was disturbing to me. It truly was. Like, one of the weirdest things that a parent has ever directly said to their own child, especially at this age. Like, I was uncomfortable with that, and the fact that Gary did not take pause to that and like, you know what I mean? Like kind of try to reassure Leah. I don't know, like his reaction to it automatically was, oh, well, you know, a mom is important. You can't write off your mom. Why do you keep trying to like push this woman down her throat instead of validating her like feelings about like the weird stuff her mom is saying and doing to her? It always feels like he's neglecting to condemn the weird things that Amber does to Leah that, you know, are legitimately damaging. So Leah tells Gary that she's not ready for one-on-one time with Amber or to spend the night at her house. And she also says that Amber has gotten opportunities to be a mom and she doesn't take them, which is true. Like, for example, ghosting out on her birthday party just the other day. And so she's like, listen, I've grown up with Christina. Like, my earliest memories are from when I was around 4 years old, and Christina was always in my life. So I look to her as my mom. You know, a mom is a lot more than just giving birth. And, you know, she also acknowledges that there's always going to be like somewhat of a hole that Amber left in her heart, you know, by being a deadbeat, but she's got Christina and she's good. Again, Leah's like one of the brightest kids out of the whole franchise. Like, it was amazing, this conversation that she had with Gary, and it really echoed what Maci was telling Taylor about how, you know, no matter how hard she tries, no matter how hard Taylor tries, there will always be that hole of a deadbeat father that Ryan left in Bentley's heart. You know, it's really about just picking the right person at the very beginning so that you can try to, you know what I mean, not have these issues with them. Yes, you can have an amazing step parent, but unfortunately the hole seems to always still kind of remain in some way, shape, or form for these poor children. Last thing on this Leah and Gary conversation, you know, again, Leah is so smart and everything, but I feel like she and Bentley are too old and too aware to still be on the show, poked and prodded about their deadbeat parent. You know, I've been dragging Maci from the very beginning about, you know, all the stuff that she's been exposing in regards to Bentley on the show, but Gary deserves that same energy as well. In fact, he might even be worse because he keeps pushing Amber onto Leah as her only mom and how like important, quote unquote, she should be in Leah's life, and offering no professional help to her, whereas Maci is at least allowing Bentley to just grieve about like not having a proper like biological father in his life, and also offering him professional counseling as well to help work through his issues. Meanwhile, in Michigan, Catelynn announces that she texted Teresa after Dawn left, asking if she'd like for them to get Carly a digital picture frame for her birthday or Christmas, and Teresa said yes. And then Catelynn also tells Tyler that she wants to send Carly a letter and paper for her to write back on. Tyler seemed to be generally upset, not like mad upset, but sad upset about the whole thing, and he says that he feels as though Brandon and Teresa are holding Carly over his head in order to make him like perform and speak a certain way. And I don't know that that's fair. I kind of felt as though they were just asking for him and Catelynn to stop sharing photos of Carly like on their show and on their social media, because, you know, they're followed by millions of people, and I think they also didn't want them to talk poorly about them publicly either, because that just, you know, is not good for any kind of relationship, adoption or not. And then back down in LA, Ryder is so freaking cute and she speaks so much and so well. I actually went online to look up how old she was, because there's like another kid or a couple other kids in this franchise that are older than her who just are not like on the same vocabulary level. So I was like, how old is this kid? Is she that much younger than them and already speaking this much better than them? You can really tell that everyone in like both of her families spend so much time like speaking to her, reading to her, playing with her, so that she can like build on her vocabulary, and it is genuinely amazing to me. Zach then gets his first solo scene where he meets up with his brother, who is, surprise, surprise, also fine, because average to below average people don't exist in these people's world. I don't get it. What is in the water there? So anyway, he talks about getting his blood drawn to test for VLCAD, and you know, he seemed like you could see him visibly worn out with Cheyenne, you guys. And I laugh because he's like, he obviously knows, listen, it's the pregnancy hormones and the stress of not knowing whether or not the child that they've already conceived might have, you know, this genetic disease that you know, is a lifelong thing. And it just reminded me as well to Cheyenne talking to Corey about how one time Zach just left the house for the day because she was just too much, you know. And Zach tells his brother that, like, you know, everything can be going right in a day, but one thing can go wrong, like a small small thing and Cheyenne will just focus on that thing, and it made me sad for him, but it's the ups and downs, I guess. I don't know. You guys tell me. I don't know. Meanwhile, in Tennessee, Bentley goes to Larry's birthday party and Ryan attempts to interact with him by holding Larry back so that Bentley can smash the birthday cake in his face. And I don't like these kinds of traditions, you guys. I don't get it. And, you know, especially when the cake fell to the ground, I was like, that cake looked good. You could have like FedExed it to me because I would have freaking eaten it if you guys were gonna just waste it like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know the last time I had a cake, you know, even a cupcake is hard to come by out here. Even a cupcake is hard to come by out here. Like, there's so many patisseries and stuff like that, but they've got like a bunch of like fruit tarts and like just not cupcakes. I miss cakes and cupcakes, you guys. So I took that personally. So when Bentley gets back home, Maci and Taylor grill him for the cameras, and Bentley tells them that he gave Ryan his therapist's card, and Ryan said that he would reach out to him. And so they praise Bentley, and Bentley seemed excited about, you know, the future of their relationship as well. And for his sake, I do hope that Ryan reaches out to the therapist. Meanwhile, in Florida, Josh finally reaches the top of Sound Mountain that he's been climbing for I don't know how long, and apparently he didn't have service up there or whatever. And so he calls Mackenzie, who suggests taking the garage pooping and teacher biting Bronx to therapy, and Josh tells her that he'll grow out of it, you know, and then he of course quote unquote loses service. Like, it's been a lot of like hanging up and abrupt phone calls with him. Like, it seems rinse and repeatish to me for the millionth time this season. And Mackenzie, you know, calls the therapist anyway, which I'm happy for her. If you suspect something's going on with your child, early intervention is the best, rather than just being like, oh, they'll grow out of it, you know, in my opinion. And so she talks about how Bronx has been not only biting the teacher, but it's like multiple students as well. And I'm kind of like, I'm surprised that they allow him to stay in that school and that he hasn't been suspended. Maybe he was suspended and I didn't catch it because, again, I've been skipping through her scenes, especially in the COVID era, right? Like, no, this is unacceptable. So the therapist tells her that Bronx is probably stressed and going through a lot of change. And by the way, I really loved Mackenzie's glasses in this scene. I skipped it, by the way. I don't know what happened after that. So in Indiana, Amber calls Gary, claiming that he's been making excuses to keep Leah away from her. And then he's like, what are you talking about? It's been 12 years. You've never planned to do anything one-on-one with Leah. Why are you all of a sudden claiming all of this stuff? You know, like, you don't even like leaving your house. And then Amber concedes. She's like, yeah, well, I haven't left my house in the past 6 months. And you know why. It's like, stop. You're a mom. You've got to like put your own personal whatever aside and spend time with your child. There's no excuse for that. And you constantly use the whatever, breakups and whatever as an excuse to not spend time with your child. And that is the problem. That's why she says she doesn't have any sort of a bond with you. And then she literally just hangs up after basically admitting that Gary is right. She doesn't want to leave her house and do anything with this child. Gary then vents to Kristina about it, and Kristina tells him that Gary's the only one keeping Amber's relationship with Leah going because Leah doesn't even want it, you know? And then she calls out Amber for pushing Leah to the side for her various boyfriends over the years, and I was living for it. Kristina wants Amber to be more respectful and grateful for what it is that she does as Leah's stepmother, or basically mother. You know, she's like, I'm the one who took Leah to get a flu shot. I take her to the dentist. Where has Amber been for all of these things? This is what being a mom is all about. She says that Amber can talk all the crap that she wants, but at the end of the day, at least she can go to sleep knowing that she's been doing right by Leah. Guys, this is so off topic, but Kristina's grammar, I feel like we always get on Leah for having really, really bad grammar, but Kristina, oh my God, I don't know that I've ever heard her put together a sentence without like grammatical mistakes. I think that because Leah has a Southern accent, people are a lot harder on her for it, but Kristina, too, my God, sometimes her sentences make my ears bleed. Sorry, a little tangent, but I gotta say it. Anyway, good for Kristina for saying that Leah would not have a mom in her life if it wasn't for her. And then she cries over, like, you know, the kind of like abandonment that Leah probably feels having a deadbeat mom. And again, I've never seen Amber cry over Leah in the 12 years that we've been following them. And Kristina, this is like the millionth time she's cried for this child. And speaking of tears, down south in LA, Cheyenne is crying to her mom and sister about how long it's taking to get the genetic testing results back for her baby, and she worries that it means that there is bad news ahead. And they try to comfort her, but she really snapped at her sister when her sister was commiserating with her about how itchy their legs get when they're pregnant. And I was like, all right, I guess this is a little bit of a glimpse into what it is that Zach has been dealing with. Down in Tennessee, Ryan and Mackenzie sit down and talk about Larry's birthday party, and Ryan seemed happy about, you know, getting to spend time talking to Bentley and getting the number for his therapist as well. But he looked so filthy, especially his hands. I don't know what's been going on with his hands, but they've been blowing up like very big, kind of like the way Prince Charles's hands are like blown up, almost like cartoon-like. And again, going back to the filth factor, I don't think Ryan has washed his hands since, you know, Trump was voted out of office. So Mackenzie claims that Bentley is being manipulated. And I have to be honest with you guys, of course, I think that Ryan is a deadbeat and a loser, but at the same time, I do think it's a little bit suspect that like an 11, now 12-year-old had an ultimatum of therapy to his parent, to speak to his parent. I found that weird. I always felt as though maybe that was suggested in some way or shape or form to him, not to drive a wedge in their relationship. Maybe like Maci or Taylor mentioned it like as a, I don't know, like in some way, but I don't think it's to alienate him or anything like that. And I do also have to say that Mackenzie has a lot of nerve calling anybody manipulative when she is a whole ass predator who married someone who was so high that they could not even legally consent to being married to her. She's a freaking creep at the end of the day. If she were a man, if that were Matt and Amber were that high, to the point where she couldn't even keep her eyes open and she was driving high, we would still not be hearing the end of it. Mackenzie is a creep and a predator in my opinion. So she should really calm it down when calling anybody manipulative. She's never wanted Ryan to have a relationship with Bentley. She's always trying to drive a wedge some way, somehow. So I do think that she is also projecting when it comes to Maci there. And so she's like, oh, I don't even really trust this therapist because it's a therapist they chose, kind of a thing. And I'm like, oh my God, she's such bad news. She really is bad news. She is as big of a loser as Ryan is. So anyway, Ryan at least calls the therapist. He gets the voicemail and he leaves a voicemail and invites the therapist to call him back. And I was really happy about that. And I do hope that things work out for the two of them. Now, in the final scene of the episode, Catelynn sends Carly a letter and starts a group chat with Brandon and Teresa that she wants Tyler to start contributing to. And he gets a little bit weird again. And he says that he is quote unquote good in regards to Carly, and says that Catelynn has a deeper bond with Carly as the birth mom as well, and he's just kind of like there to look out for her in this whole situation. It seemed very detached and cold, but at the end of the day, there are 1,000,001 ways to grieve, and maybe apathy, coldness, disconnecting, whatever you want to call what Tyler is doing right now, I'm sure are, you know, some of the ways as well. So I definitely don't want to judge his method of grieving kind of the quote unquote loss of his daughter, you know. And I also think that it seems as though he's just protecting himself, knowing that he's a loose cannon. So if he starts contributing and like he feels a certain kind of way, he can further drive a wedge in their relationship with Brandon and Teresa, maybe to the point of no return. So maybe it is best that he allows these things to go through Catelynn at the end of the day. Catelynn wonders if they're going to be invited to Carly's wedding one day, or if Carly's not going to want anything to do with them, which was a very sad thought. I hope that they are one day and that Carly does want something to do with them. And I also have to say, Kate still has her hair freshly done. She's got like her makeup. She's got all these earrings in. I'm really loving her this season. And I feel really good about the way that she's been taking care of herself like never before. It just makes me so happy week after week, just noticing these little things about her. Anyway, you guys, that does it. A recap of what went down on last night's episode of Teen Mom OG. But as usual, I'm more looking forward to hearing what you have to say about everything. So please make sure to let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.